So I'm going to start creating free content for online role-playing games, but I've decided not to release a Patreon. Let me explain. I love Patreon. I subscribe to a bunch of them. I'm a huge proponent of supporting the creators and artists and really creative people out there that are starting Patreons as a way to monetize and make it make sense for the amount of time that it takes to create some of this content for online D&D. I think it's a great way to support the community. However, as I start to put out content, I'm not going to do a Patreon. I'm going to do it as Creative Commons, a different way. And I wanted to explain why, just to make sure that I'm not, insulting anybody or people don't misunderstand what I'm trying to do here. So let me explain. I like playing D&D online. And when I do it, I like pushing my online tools to their practical limits. While I still switch to theater of the mind, when necessary or when it makes the most sense, I like pushing these tools to their practical limits. I'm not trying to play a video game, but I like finding new and creative ways or even, old and tried ways of making the game fun for us using online tools like Photoshop and Blender and using assets that I find out there in the wild or things that I get from Patreon, from creators. I love all of it. But as I kind of bash together all these different sources of content or even stuff that I draw myself, I'm finding that people are asking, hey, where can I buy this? Where can I get this? I'm trying to play isometric D&D, but I'm having this difficulty finding content. And so I wanted to contribute back to the community by making the content easier to find or making the content free or just taking the stuff that I prep for my game and making it so that you can use it for your game. And what I realized after talking with a couple of people is that D&D is my hobby. And one of the fears that I have is that by releasing the Patreon, I'm going to start being more susceptible to some of the YouTuber burnout that you keep hearing about, where somehow, and I don't want my hobby to become an obligation, right? I want it to stay fun. If I need to walk away from it at any time, right? I want to have no guilt associated with that. I want every moment that I spend playing D&D or prepping D&D or interacting with the community to be fun. I just want it to be fun. But I also want to give back. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to, using my just normal website, put out isometric content packs every once in a while. How often? I don't know, monthly, less than monthly, whenever I've got new stuff ready. And to just post it out there with a Dropbox download. Anybody wants to go and get it with really clear licensing and attribution if there's anything in there that I didn't create but do have the right to redistribute. So when I say I'm releasing it for free, what do I mean? Well, what I mean is I'm going to put it out as Creative Commons, and there's a lot of different kinds of Creative Commons, but specifically what I'm doing is when I can, I'm going to put it out as Creative Commons, requiring attribution, non-commercial 4.0 international. That's a big thing, but what that really means is that if I'm going to put a lot of time into something and making content from scratch or as close to from scratch as I can, I'd like to put it out there for free, and I'd like it to stay free. But as some have commented, sometimes that Creative Commons makes it difficult for people to know whether or not they're allowed to use it and then also stream their games online. So I'm saying here, and in addition to it being Creative Commons, alternatively, if you want to stream and have this stuff embedded in your streams, online, even video on demand, replays on YouTube, whatever, it's streamer friendly. Go ahead and stream it. Don't care. Sounds great. You have my permission. If I have stuff in these content packs that is, also itself Creative Commons or royalty free or whatever, I'm going to do my best to list all attributions and of course abide by any kind of Creative Commons attributions requirements. I'm totally going to do that. It's the right thing to do. And I'll just let everybody know that, every once in a while there's going to be stuff in there that is effectively fan content, right? It's unofficial fan content. Wizards fan content policy is amazing. So far on that website, there are 3 content packs already loaded up. I've been dropping them quietly in the background. The first one is my isometric grid settings, sort of a background template and grid overlay you can use to make isometric maps faster. The second pack, which is a bunch of renders of some free content that's out there for, called OpenForge tiles, which might be useful if you're building dungeons. And then today, I'm releasing a third content pack called Whirlpool Castle, which is a white dragon and sort of lair for that white dragon if you want to encounter a boss monster in your D&D game. Let's get into that. So I got permission. Thank you very much for MZ4250 for giving me permission to take his White Dragon STL file for 3D printing DMs and then pose it in Blender and do some shading and surfacing and texturing on it in Blender to make this White Dragon token. And I've got releasing a couple of different poses for it so that you can use this boss monster in your game. I'm also releasing a animated version and a still version of a layer for that dragon to be in, so that you can kind of have a showstopper final battle scene. I really encourage, making sure that you encounter the dragon a couple of times outside the lair so you realize how dangerous it is. And this is inspired by a D&D module called Dragon of Icespire Peak, where you fight the dragon a couple of times, but then eventually it retreats back to its lair, and you have a grand finale with it in its actual lair, where it gets to use its lair actions. It's a lot of fun. It's a great module. So that's the third module pack, and if you want to follow along and see other packs as I release them, maybe by the time you watch this video there's more. I don't know how often I'm going to put them out. They're free. I'm doing this in my free time. But check out asathought.com isometric, and that's where you'll be able to find anything else that I'm doing related to isometric D&D if you want to follow along or kind of like know the order, or just check out that content. So I'm going to keep the YouTube channel going, of course. I don't know what for, just whatever is sort of whatever comes up in the hobby, whatever interesting stuff I find, and have fun making videos. Comment in the section below, subscribe, whatever. Let me know what kind of content you'd like to see. All right. Thanks, everybody, and good hanging out.